I just got the promotion card.
Standing up, making mistakes.
I should appreciate that one.
It's 30 seconds.
I know.
Hello there.
Are you enjoying your lunch?
Are you okay?
That's right. Oh, yeah.
Gazpacho on a 90-degree day. As hot and muggy as it might be in here, it's way worse outside.
Hey, man.
So, count your blessings. I know it's not the schedule today.
And I could still be in the Adirondack.
Where I'm from.
Where I drove home from yesterday.
Where were you?
Inlet, New York, Old Forge area.
I go snowmobiling.
We're going to ask everyone to do that. Just grab a seat real quick. While you're eating, I do want to draw your attention.
I came back just, quote, just once, not really.
We have Bike Leg Josh, who's going to talk a little bit about the culturalization of riding a bike out in Springfield when it means to the youth movement. I'll ring my bell until we get everyone down. Thanks, guys. Cool. I do want you to continue eating, but in the sake of packing too much into one seminar, we're going to keep on rolling. We talked this morning about community activation, how to do outreach in the neighborhoods, how to get people to contribute their voices to the cities to make changes, and how to get pilot programs for complete street policies. We have Bike Leg Josh who's going to talk a little bit about the movement that he's a part of in the city. Josh, I don't know if I have anything else to tell, but just let you take it away and jump right in.
Josh, yeah!
Yeah, I'll actually, wherever you want to say.
Your turn, just wow.
Yeah, my name is Josh, and I'm part of both Regulate.
And you have to yell.
You have to speak louder, please.
You got this.
You can do this. Instead of the classroom voice, take the teacher's voice.
My name is Josh, and I'm part of 413 Bike Life. And what most people don't understand is what Bike Life means. And Bike Life is like a family. It's a group of kids that go out, meet up, and ride all over the city. Not just in Springfield, but also like in places like Chicopee and West Springfield, because we're not just Springfield Bike Life, we're 413 Bike Life. So, and that's like an area code, so we go everywhere. And Bike Life, it doesn't matter what skin color you are, what your ethnicity is, where you're from, what part of the city you're from, where it's all about unity. We come together and we do what we love, and that's to ride bikes. Most people think that we have bad intentions to block out the street and the roads, and that's not really our purpose. Our purpose is to get together and do what we have a passion for, which is ride bikes and do our tricks. Lately, we've been working on getting a bike park so we could like have a safe place to do our tricks. And sooner or later, that's I think we'll have it. We just gotta keep striving for what we want. And here on the screen, we have sort of like something that I've been promoting. It's for the first ride out of the summer. Like there's been a lot of violence going on in the city. Recently, there's been like a couple of shootings. Like just the other day, there was 18 shots fired in the Forest Park area. So I thought it would be a good idea to do a stop the violence ride out. And in Springfield, there's not many things keeping us together, and I feel like Bike Life is something that's keeping everybody together, and that's why I decided to make it. It's actually tomorrow in the South End Park, and we're gonna meet up at 12:30 and have it at 1:30. And yeah, this picture we have a few of the riders. This picture we took it on a day. It was we had a photographer there, and he took like videos of us like doing tricks, and he also interviewed us, and we explained to him what the movement is about and things like that. Social media plays a big part in what we do, because that's where we promote everything we do. Like we spread the rides, like pictures here, and that's how more people get like the word to come. And yeah, we all meet up.
We're still going.
F5?
It's a Mac.
The last one, the very last one.
You're so good, thank you.
Take that.
Article?
Or
No, we use.
Oh, okay.
this is another picture of us in the South End area. area on Main Street. Like in this picture, this is like barely anything for like people wise. Like this is like not even 10%. There's like I can't give you a specific number of how many people we have, but it's well over 100.
So far, we have 397 signups.
Nice.
All ages, under 30.
So a couple hundred, and what I like about this picture is that you see like different type of people here. You don't just see one specific like type of like race or anything, because that's what I want to spread. That it's like anybody could do this. We're a family. Like you could come out, and you won't be judged or anything. You don't have to willy to ride with us. You could do like basic tricks. You don't have to willy. It's just about riding together and spreading positivity.
Those are separate images.
For me personally, like other people might have a different like perspective or meaning of what bike life means to them, but for me, it's like basically self-explanatory. Like bike life, like life. It's a lifestyle to me. It's not a hobby or something I do like once in a while. It's something I do every day. Something I have love for. When I throw my bike up, I'm wheeling. It could be like no cars in the street. Like let's say Friday night, and I just have the road to myself. I'll turn my lights on. I'll throw my bike up, and in my head, I'm just telling myself, like, man, I love this. 'Cause it's like, it's such like when I'm on that bike, I'm just blocked away from everything. Like, let's say problems at home or bad grades at school, things like that. I'm just like focused on what I'm doing, and it's like blocking me away from everything negative. Cops wise, as you can see here, there's no location of where like the meetup will be. So that's because the cops like to show up to the spot before it like everything starts and shut it down before everything happens. So lately we post like the picture, and then we put inbox or message me for the location info, so that those type of things will happen. With the cops, we don't really get treated how we're supposed to. We usually get our bikes taken, or we even actually, like when we're on the bike lane where we're supposed to ride at, we usually get cut off, and they'll like hop out the car and like grab us and take our bikes. We even get accused of things we don't do, like for example, kids that don't even wheelie, they get their bikes taken, and then at the station they'll say, oh yeah, he was wheeling in the middle of the street, when the kid doesn't even know how to wheelie. And, yeah, things like that. Also name calling, since we're kids, like we can't really do nothing. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Cops, like we're not really worried about them. We're gonna continue what we like do, because at the end of the day, each day a kid wakes up wanting a bike. Like there's not really that they can do about it, because it's just gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. So if they're mad now, wait till like a year more. But yeah, bike life is gonna continue, and like it's not really gonna stop, because these companies like with the like what's going on, companies that makes bikes, they're looking at all this type of stuff, and they're thinking like, man, we can make some money off of this. We're gonna go make a big wheel bike so these kids can wheelie, and it's gonna sell out right when they come out. Like for example, like there's a brand called SE Bikes. That's the bike. Like you mostly see those bikes here. They're basically specifically for wheeling. They have big tires and things like that. It's a BMX bike, but it's just like a bigger version, so you can do your normal tricks, but they're usually meant for wheeling. That's the bike that most of the riders get, just because there's this dude named D-Blocks. Like most of the bike life kids look up to him. Like he's like a public figure, and he rides bikes like all over the city of New York, and he does like like events and stuff like that for kids. He gives away bikes and stuff, and just off of William, he gets like sponsored by different companies, and he even has his own bike that they designed for him. So once that happened, it just inspired a lot of people to like Willie, so they could get like recognition and stuff like that. But for me, that's not really what I do it for. I could care less about fame or money. I just do it because I have a passion for it. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
And then you wanna tell them about the team leaders and how you're now gonna help with the city council pass some policies?
So there's another rider that I usually like go to meetings with. His name is Lewis. Like we're the ones that I wouldn't say run, but we're the main ones that speak for the bike culture in Springfield. And we're working on getting kids to like use lights and things like that. So like for safety purposes, and we're trying to also, like I said, with the bike park and things like that. We're just like trying to step forward to get our message out there, keep everybody safe while they're riding. Oh, maybe like we've been talking about this a lot. Maybe like events at a park where, let's say a path where it's just like blocked off, and we have, let's say,
You can
just-
show off your skills
Yeah.
to like the people in town who are.
yeah, in front of people that don't really see what's happening, or like just a way we could show off what like we do and why we do it, and also speak and things like that.
That would be cool. I heard there's some safety thing going on soon.
Yes, so we have a safety fest. There's one at the Basketball Hall of Fame, which I think you guys will do, right? So at the Basketball Hall of Fame, there's a safety fest that's going to go on. I believe it's August 3rd or August 2nd. I can get you everybody the date.
That would be an awesome time to show off.
Yeah, and so it's like we're gonna. I think the biggest thing is that the officers people in the city just assume that these kids should already know bike laws. For the city of Springfield, bike life is pretty easy. It's very green for the city. We just got bike lanes within the last year or 2 years, right? We can't just, if we expect 16-and-a-half-year-olds to learn how to drive, to get a permit, get the driver's license, to learn all of this stuff, that's not easily accessible for, if I say that you're a parent, you go into a store, you buy your child a bike, it doesn't come with bike policy and rules for the city of Springfield. It doesn't come with that. So we're just assuming that these parents know at what age the child is supposed to wear the helmet to. At what age do they stay on the sidewalk? What age do they get off the sidewalk? All of that is not easy to find. It's not even in your Good Neighbor Handbook for the city of Springfield. So it's not provided, it's not easily, the cops say, well, just go online, look at it online. If you typed in that and then type it in, it's kind of sometimes overbearing, it's a lot of language for the kids.
It's
You
not
know, and-
online.
Right, and so it's not, they're saying this is just online. And then some of our officers don't even know really the complete bike laws.
Well, the problem with officers, we don't have any in the room, do we? Is they make up their own laws based on their own positions. It happens all the time. If I ride with a group all the time, and we can be riding side by side, and a policeman, doesn't matter what town or anything, but they'll stop you and they'll say, you need to ride single file. It's like, no, you don't. That's not the law, but they'll tell you it's the law because that's what they perceive the law should be. And they don't even bother to learn the rules.
And this is with the adults.
And yeah.
Correct,
And
yeah, you're
I-
absolutely right.
No,
I did find
Hold
spot.
on, let's do hands for Vivian, please.
You mentioned something about working with city council. Can you give a little bit more information on how it is that you're collaborating with them to get some ordinance passed, or what is that?
So with the city council, we have like a group on Facebook where it's called the Bike Committee, and they like post like everything that happens on like with that, like when the meetings are gonna be and things like that. Then when we show up, like sometimes people from the city council go. Well, the ones I went to, there's been a couple people from there, cops as well. and we just talk about how could like we fix the problems that like go on, and how we could like progress to get the bike park that we've been asking for.
So they were successful on the last safety committee that was run by, the chairperson for that is Orlando Ramos. And Adam Gomez was in the picture right there. He's our Ward 1 city councilor. And with the help of the Vanguard, 413 Vanguard, they're a group of men who come together to help with conflict resolution and different things like that. So they're helping out to gather the kids. So what happened was they were going to group the motorcycle and the bike, what they consider bike problems. So they were going to group it all together. They were able to go up there and say, we're not riding motorcycles. Being on the bikes is legal. They got to tell their story to the point that Justin Hurst even got teary-eyed and says, no, we need to separate this big problem. Right? It's two separate entities, and it took for them to come up there and speak. That's how, letting them know how important it is to go in front of these committees, safety committees and different things like this, to talk about why it should be different. ATVs and things like that, yeah, they're illegal on the street, but bikes are not. So they shouldn't be grouped together because you feel like it's a problem. And with that, they're able to explain to them, one, update your internet, working with the City Council, Adam Gomez, Orlando Ramos, and Justin Hurst, and Jesse Letterman. Those are the biggest 5 councilors that are taking on a lot of the policies, the bikes, what we have to do, and working with Pat Sullivan and getting the bike park, because now they're starting to see this is very important, and we can't just assume. So by them having to say, this shouldn't be a policy, this should be a policy, why don't we have bike rails at the schools? If we're talking about transportation, if you guys ever rode the PVTA, it's horrible trying to get to school every day. So if we could make it more convenient and eco-friendly for them to drive their bikes to school, they should have somewhere they can lock their bikes up. So by
Amen.
Huh?
Amen.
Amen.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So by them being involved, now they're hearing from them, the group of kids. And we don't want to bring them all to City Hall, so we picked they voted in, the day of that event, they voted in 5 people, including himself, and 1 skateboard kid. And they all drive different things. So we were green to, like, excuse me, how many different bikes or what could we do? By them coming together, they informed us what it is that they need. Why are they frustrated? Why are they mad? Why is this going on? And that's, so with the city councilors and the kids, this is how we're gonna help it. So I wanna say thank you to Alex and to the Walk Bike Springfield, everybody who's involved, because we couldn't have done it without them.
Because the Parks Department is actually in the midst of hiring a designer to begin to do the preliminary design, except the kids, the youth at the last meeting did schematics of things they would like. These are being given to this designer, and then that's just to come up with initial, cost estimates so the city can begin to get the money. So, it's a process to build a new park, but the Parks Commissioner has really focused on a potential site and is doing an initial evaluation of that site and has backup sites. So it's an inchworm, but it's moving.
I have a quick question. So Yolanda and Josh, have you guys thought about how to engage with city police to kind of address those problems?
We did. We had a huge meeting. Our very first bike meeting was crowded.
150 people?
150 people, including all the cops. And you could tell even, like in this room, we're all together. We're all sitting together. But the cops were in one corner, the kids were over there, some organizations were over here. It was so divided. And even though we managed to get everybody to say what they wanted to say, I still felt that
it's a work in progress.
We definitely need some more conflict resolution. But it showed in that room the big division between the kids and the police.
Yeah.
In that room. Yeah.
Wait, here, Josh, please.
Yep.
Like after that meeting, like we thought, things were gonna change, like at least a little bit or some improvement. and like it didn't change a thing. Like things were said that they really didn't mean, and the conversations were, to me, for no reason, pretty much. So me personally, and a lot of other people that ride with me, we've chosen not to like really speak to them no more. But yeah.
In the back.
I forgive my ignorance, and if someone one needs to speak to me privately, that's fine. What is the actual issue with kids riding? What is this? Because we're talking about the problem. We've been saying the problem. I may be just late in the game. What is the problem with kids
Josh?
riding?
The main problem is how we're viewed. People think we're a gang. That's like nowhere near what we are. Well, the main problem that people see is us on the middle of the street. You gotta understand that we're a big group. So once we hear your car beeping, we're gonna move. But you at least gotta give us some time, because we're a big group. Like as I said, like he even
Taking
said
over
it.
roadways.
400 people have signed up.
I understand. I'm signing up myself too.
I kind of want to chime in there because I ride in big groups in Boston. We call it Boston Bike Party, hundreds of people. We don't get harassed by the cops.
Yeah.
We get angry drivers every so often, but typically it's white, it's a little bit older, it's the 20s and 30s crowd, it's a big boombox, it's just as rowdy, it's just as disruptive, but we aren't seen as a problem. In fact, we've, even as an organization, got a city council accommodation, which was signed by the city council saying that we're doing public good. But we are breaking laws. We are riding in big groups. We're doing as much disruption as a bike life ride would be doing. So I think the perception of problem isn't just that you're in the streets, because when Bike Party does it, it's not a problem. But when Bike Life does it, it's a problem.
Well, it's a gang.
The thing is,
Color of their skin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. It really is, and I think that's kind of what we're begging the question, right? Is like, how do we start opening up the conversation? It's not about bikes. It is kind of a racial profiling problem that's happening with the police officers.
Wheelies and going the wrong way at rush hour on a major street.
The problem that happened initially
But you have to
is,
divide any lawbreaker with the ones who aren't breaking
Right.
the law.
The question is, what do people
They've
object
been
to?
lumped into one
Right,
Yeah.
because if you're the
Yeah, I'll
average
get you.
driver, you see these objections to books, then you see just a large group of people, you say, oh, it's the same thing, now they're gonna come riding at me, doing wheelies, it's gonna be scary.
One right here.
that's what I wanted to say, is that with the dirt bike activity, the ATV activity, who are out kicking cars and going around cars and making trouble, and then the police see this group, and sometimes they're riding the wrong way on the road, they're riding in a big group, they got lumped in with the real problem. And also, you're right, it is not legal to ride more than 2x2 and stay in one lane. It's not illegal to ride more than 2x2. It's not legal to be disrupting traffic. And the police see doing wheelies as disrupting the traffic. That's their position. And we need to work to educate them that this is not illegal, or that they need to be better.
Josh, any thoughts there?
Like one thing that I've been trying to this, like I say this every time like events like this happen, whether it's like with the city council or just like with a person that's asking me about bike life. Like the message I always try to get across is the people that are like, I gotten people tell me, oh, you guys are harassing cars, this and that, or like doing things we're not supposed to. Like those people that are harassing cars and hitting cars on purpose or calling people out their name, those are the people that we're not claiming as one of our riders. Like anybody doing that, we're not saying you're a part of us, because it's like giving us a bad name, and we're not bad people at all. We're just doing what we like. So those people doing that type of stuff, they're not part of us. That's like to the side.
And that was the reason for getting the team leaders. Like even the day that we had our bike meeting, there was almost a little confrontation, but to me it was a healthy confrontation between the kids. They were starting to police themselves. The kids were outside wheeling
Three. There
The
were,
other big brother goes out there, or one of the brothers goes out there and says, yo, y'all gotta stop doing this, you're making us look bad. One of the kids got disrespectful, the big brother steps in, and he's like, you're not gonna talk to my brother like that, you're making us look bad, stop. And he stops, we moved them all in, they come inside. Guess what they just started to do? They started to police themselves. And that's what they have to learn. Unfortunately, that's what they have to do to the crew. They have to police some of the ones that don't wanna be part of what is supposed to be, but it makes them look bad. And so as long as they tell them, look, if you're gonna be a part of 413 Bike Life, then these are the rules that we're gonna set for. And if you can't follow the rules, then you can't ride with us no more.
John.
Couple more. Tom in the back.
Very quick, Josh, where do you, and told me no bike shops in Springfield, like, where do you get your bike, where do you get tubes, tires, and stuff you need?
Make it
for bike?
Springfield, Monday, 2 to 6.
Bike-wise, the bikes, the ones I was telling you about, SE bikes, they're not really sold like around this area. I'd have to go to like Connecticut or New York to get my bike. But tube-wise, I'll just go to like mostly Fat Tracks or the bike shop in downtown. But I mostly go to Fat Tracks, and I usually like fix my bike there most of the time. And, yeah, Fat Tracks mainly.
Fat Tracks is in East Longmeadow. It's a BMX-focused offshoot of Competitive Edge.
That's pretty far away.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were gonna be able to get there.
Alex, do you have a point?
Yeah, I just wanted to open up a general conversation about wheelies because the Springfield police are contending that wheelies are illegal from the perspective of operating to endanger. And if anybody has any comments on that, I don't think that they're illegal. And I think Caitlin, we discussed that.
God has a
So I
comment.
think this is a huge one of contention. It's something that those of us in the bike advocacy community have tried to educate the police on, and it's an argument. They say a wheelie is illegal, but there's nothing in the law that says riding on one wheel is illegal. Otherwise, the guy who's on a unicycle and goes out for his bike would be illegal. So, and then they tried to apply operating to endanger, which is a criminal ruling. And fortunately, it's specifically for motorized vehicles. And Jesse Lederman, our city councilor, was able to present that to the police and say, you cannot apply this to people on bicycles. The only people that are really endangering is themselves. They're not operating to endanger other people. But the wheelie, as someone who's ridden with these kids once or twice, you know, when a kid is holding his line, holding a wheelie going by you, it's phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. And now, here's my issue. Last night I was out for a ride over by Springfield College. A young man, maybe 12 to 14, on a bike that's a bit too big for him, is pulling up. He's doing a wheelie, he's fine, but then he starts drifting over towards me, and I'm like, but the interaction was great. He was like, I know, I'm trying, But for me, that's the issue. Where can a kid learn to pop a wheelie and hold his own? We don't have that facility.
Riverwalk.
Is that the official statement from the city of Springfield?
No, but it's a straightaway.
We'd love some leadership from the city
It's a
of Springfield.
straightaway path that,
So this person has to leave.
no, it's essentially in their neighborhood, if they're from the north end, in the
Right.
south end.
If you're from my neighborhood,
Yeah.
then
No.
I'm in the site.
Well, your bike trail's coming.
I'll take about 2 more minutes.
That kid will be 20 years old.
But I just wanna basically address, like, reiterate that what Todd had just said, right? Because they're on bikes, guess what now they're doing? They're talking, social interaction. We're getting them out of the homes. Thank God I have 3 boys and they ate up all my food, them and there. So if they're outside, they're not in the house, right? They're not bored. They're actually talking. That stops internet predators. That's actually getting to know somebody. Now you see a lot of the kids that I see that are overweight are starting to lose weight, right? That's adding to the city. that each of you, your job, each of you, is to talk to anybody who says or has a problem with these kids. Why don't you talk to them? Come to one of our meetings. Alex and them, they're gonna start running the meeting. I'm stepping aside for a little bit, but they're gonna continue on and talk to somebody. Don't, when you see the kid, if he looks like he's getting into the street, try not to beat the horn. Just say, hey, you know, don't scare them. But, you know, you could say to them, take it. And if you be smart, just let it go. He's gonna be smart. But you said what you gotta say, because guess what? What happens when you learn as kids? If you trip and you fall, your mom says, hey, didn't I tell you? Get up. So they're gonna learn. But we have to each one teach one. That's our job. Each one teach one for each of these kids. And we can't just rely on, unfortunately, our police officers right now to be de-escalating the situation. And it's up to us as a community. But I want these kids to be out of their house, socializing, losing weight, getting healthy. And not only that, our traffic. Can we get more bikers so we don't have to traffic? We have half hour to get here.
Well, and one thing, and if you're not from Springfield, we need help in the surrounding communities to make it more welcoming and understanding that if it's a kid from Springfield, they're entitled to ride in West Springfield. They're entitled to ride in Chicopee. They're entitled to ride in Agawam. And we have had issues where the police in these other communities have basically outright told the kids, you're not from our community, you're not even allowed to be riding here.
Mm.
And this from all over and being welcomed all over. And there are bike paths and things elsewhere that they could be using.
Josh, any closing words?
Like, most of the people that came up here, I see they talked about bike paths and bike trails. I feel like something that could improve that, like to get more bike paths. Like, I feel like you guys should talk to the West Springfield police, because recently we got chased through the bike path. They like brought the car through the whole bike path.
What?
In West Springfield.
Yeah.
On the new path.
I never seen a car
That's the
on a
violation.
bike path.
Cars are supposed to
Wow.
be on the right path.
So, yeah.
The police are allowed.
They're licensed to drive.
The police are allowed on the bike path, but they shouldn't be chasing kids just because.
No, absolutely not.
They were chasing you, why?
Apparently because we're not from West Springfield. They
I
told
don't know.
This is they are assuming that if they look like this, that they look like this,
Guys.
and they're a group.
Let him speak.
No.
He was explaining why.
Alright, so we're doing one of this was actually not even a ride out. This was a normal day, and we were just in a group, like as usual. We met up and we just all came together. So this day we decided to go to a place where we don't really go because of the police, which was West Springfield. So we're there riding, having a good time normally, and the cops just came out of nowhere and through like the speakers or whatever, they were just talking to us and telling us, oh, get the F out of West Springfield, go back to Springfield, as like if we can't be there or something. I don't know what that was about. But when we left, one time they like, basically what I said, they just drove the car, the West Springfield police car, through the whole bike path until they made it to like the intersection where it cuts off like the end of the bike path in Springfield. So they stopped right there because like they're from West Springfield, so they couldn't enter Springfield. But yeah, pretty much they drove through the whole bike path inside the car.
And that happened to them at Forest Park as well with the sheriff's department. All the kids have my phone number so they know to take video and to take pictures. I actually was there when the cop pulls up and tells the kids, move along. And he starts swearing at the kids. I walk up to the cruiser, he sees my face, and I look and I said, really? Is that how we're talking to our kids? He stops and just drives away. And all the kids look at me and was like, see? I was like, I couldn't believe the language that came out of our own officers' mouths to these kids. And even their own face changed because I guess they didn't expect an adult. They didn't see me. I was within the bike kids. When I seen them pull up, I was getting ready to walk up. And he's swearing at them right when I'm at the window. Get the F out, move and they pull away, they just drive away.
And the thing about that was that we weren't even riding.
They weren't even riding. They were
We
just
on the
parked.
side. We were like on the sidewalk.
We were getting ready to take pictures. That was it. They didn't do anything. And even me witnessing it was like, are you kidding me? Our own officers?
Did you get the badge number?
I was just so, you know what? I was just so stunned
I know, I
and
just
shocked that even him still pulling away and all the kids,
Did anybody
all
get
of us, it was like a second of silence and they all looked at me and said, see? I was like,
did anybody get a picture of the car?
no,
'Cause
we have
car
no
number,
idea.
and with the car number and the date and time, they could have figured out.
All right, I wanna wrap this up. I wanna ask Josh if he's got one more thing or anything else to close this up with.
I want to say like thank you because like I can see that everybody was like focused and there was a lot of questions. Like every time I speak, I see like everybody's looking at me, so I appreciate that.
Josh, we appreciate what you are trying to do in educating your group to be more compliant with the rules of the road and a little bit more considerate of other people on the road. I know you're working hard at that.
So thank you for like taking time to listen to what I'm saying because like I really mean what I said and I'm really like pushing forward to get my message across there and speak for those people. That's my family right there. But thank you.
Thank you for being the voice. It's really important. I'm proud that we were able to feature you, frankly. I think we all need to hear this in every community. So try your best in your roles to find the allies who can bring folks like Josh in to speak their experiences to you. Because you may hear about it, you may see the Facebook posts, but I mean, this is real. One more thing that I would like to say is that at the end of the last two summits, we kind of closed the summits with the question of who's not here. And I want you to think about that a little bit, of who's not here. We have planners, we have advocates, we have designers, we have engineers. I don't mean it necessarily from a socioeconomic or racial background, but definitely specifically here, who's not here. The cops aren't here.
DPW.
DPW, the city's not here. So I'm taking this as an advocate. Like if something that I can do is call you all here, I'm gonna try my damnedest to get the police involved. Whether it's this city or other cities, but like that's
How about a city council member?
That's exactly right. So we might end with that, we might not, depending on how I feel. We're wrapping up at the end, but we have done who's a not here and why. And why is on us and why is on them. But one thing I want to point out is that if we would have police officers here to hear this with all of you adults, professionals in the room, we would help amplify Josh's message about what's going on in his life.
We have it on video, right?
And we have a video,
so we can take clips of it.
Cool. Great. With that, I really appreciate it. I'm going to take a 5-minute shakeout. We'll do one more bucket of presentations. It's going to focus on education with Safe Routes to Schools, what MassBike is up to, along with Patrick's Safe Routes to Schools programs. We'll talk about compassionate advocacy. Kyle and his, well, their kid is still here. Yeah. Great.
Just Kyle.
Just Kyle. Okay, here we go. Cool. Well, we'll take a few minutes. Please use the restroom. Finish like a spot show. And I realize it's a long day. It's 1:35 right now. We'll try to wrap up by around 2:30.
And put the air conditioners back
Now
on.
we'll put the air conditioners back on for you. All right. Thanks, everyone.
I know this is that. I need I'm tired.
I'm sorry. Word. Yeah. It's a mode of transportation. We just got a pump track in my neighborhood in Austin. And by Austin, the neighborhood of Austin on the north side. And it's like, it's a whole new community that's turning out for like stuff. It's like literally 100 riders a day a week. And I mean, we've got, gosh, a few, like, Hey, they all got windows, but we're making two new ones in South Boston where he's supposed to post Jimmy from the bikes down in the Cape. They're building one up by Otis. And then he was out there, he showed me a photo video of him just shoveling dirt. But it really takes the old timers who were there 30 years ago. Oh, I'm so sorry. Do I have your presentation already? Do I have your presentation already?
No, I have it on the computer.
Okay. Sure, bring it on over.
Okay. Thanks so much.
Oh, you take off? Great.
Yeah, I came up the meeting.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Josh did awesome, huh? Josh did amazing.
Public speaking. Give me your computer, we'll jump right in. Great. Let's plug you in. I'd love to get this done in about an hour.
I'm just gonna throw the pictures on there. Do you have a USB?
Yeah.
It's on the left side of this. I just have like a slideshow of kind of pictures.
You can do, yeah, and as much or as little as you like. I'd say no more than 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to put it on USB?
Is that okay? And then I put it here? Well, don't worry about it.
But
Let me
I
see.
can't plug in with your plug, can I?
Let's find out. Do you have this guy?
That dongle? No.
No, not the dongle. The PGA. No. So my recommendation is, can you save him real quick on this USB and then transfer him? That'd be super easy. No.
You can start talking before the pictures. Whenever you tell me to, I'll start talking.
It's good, right? It's good. You want to put like one more batch of posters in the wall. I don't know exactly what question you want to ask. So that's perfect.
MassBike, MassBike. I found that before. I had with me when I was doing the training last summer. One of the teachers was laughing about a dead bicycle on the side. That's indication that we are to share the road with bicycles, but he called them dead bicycles. That's what he viewed. He viewed it as right up between on the road. That's what it meant to him. Yeah, he was totally the opposite of what we said. That's what he had said. So, he was shouting. So I just handed it to him. And he started laughing as he was reading it, and he stopped laughing, and then he gave me and I kept a couple of copies of it. And the next time there was a teacher there, I gave it to her as well, and we were trying to score. No longer did it around. Now, when it was easier to do this, and we had the books, I would have to buy the books like there were 30 pages in there, pages 8 to 12. And one time, I was told we could help the bicycle and ride outside. We did a visit.
Told by a police officer?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
And the funny thing about it was brought up before. Anyway, when the COVID was going way back here. Okay. Anyway, I went home. I got my copy. I highlighted it. Kathy Brown was in the liaison at that time. I brought it in the Kathy. And I said to her, it is a copy. Anyway, I said to her, would you please leave the car so-and-so? We're arriving at last night at 8 o'clock at night.
I think we're almost ready. When Shannon's ready, I'm not the Shannon's control right now.
She can start talking before this happens.
I'll roll the visual. I mean, it's 90 seconds from now. So we'll be ready.
I did that.
Looks like you're almost there.
Expected something awful to happen. Because they just make it up when they don't know.
Right, exactly.
So, anyway. I have though, you know, for a left-hand turn, and you're moving that way, and had a big around turn, and get mad at me, and hit my hand as he was trying to jump over. So that's how they drive with kids in there. Oh my God.
Yeah, really. Right. Nice. Yeah, Dad. I hope. Oh yes, the movie I gave you. That's what I wanted.
It's your show. Thank you.
Someone in here?
Just don't whack us when you come out. Yes, okay.
go.
I just started. Are there any questions about the presentation?
All right, we're gonna call to order. Please grab your seats.
Just sit in them.
All right, I failed to mention that we actually have two presentations. My apologies, it's getting on in the day. We're going to have Catherine and Shannon from Valley Bike. I think Shannon's just backup, actually. She's like the backup singer.
And I will answer questions when she's done.
Awesome, and we have questions to answer. The three topics we're going to cover will be Valley Bike, the electric bike share system that is regional here in the Valley. We'll cover safe routes to schools and education. Awesome. And the Valley Bike Access Pass program in particular. Then we'll talk about safe routes to schools, education, community outreach, and then we'll round up the day with passionate advocacy. We're trying to see if we can wrap these up in 43 minutes, but it might be a little longer, but hopefully by the end of 2:45 or so, we'll be. Who knows what kind of library we're going back into when we get out there? It's gonna be like a wormhole.
There's bikes out there.
At least the window didn't.
Oh, that's it. That's it.
Good time.
They're after the bikes.
All right. This is a timed presentation apparently. So you have 10 minutes and 2 seconds to get through this.
Okay.
Let me know when you press play.
Go.
Now 10 minutes.
Okay.
I'm gonna ask you, Catherine, to stand. Actually, I'll do.
She's really
9 minutes,
fast.
60
How
seconds.
many people have used a Valley Bike? Raise your hand.
Woo!
All right. So, any questions? Okay.
them in
So
business?
Valley Bike is in 6 municipalities in the Pioneer Valley. East Hampton is our newest member. It started in Amherst, Springfield, Holyoke, South Hadley, and Northampton. And it was catalyzed by the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, but it was those 5 communities that really got it off the ground. And we hired the company, The Weekend, that hired Shannon as their outreach coordinator. We continue to oversee it, the 5 municipalities in the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission. Behind me you see examples, images of Valley Bike. The Community Foundation of Western Massachusetts we have some representatives here from them, and we would like to thank them for funding the Access Pass program. So the memberships in Valley Bike, it's $80 for the year. It allows you 45-minute unlimited rides at 45 minutes. There's still some founding memberships for $90. The benefit of that is you get an hour-long unlimited rides for an hour. So if you aren't yet a member, I encourage you to do that. But the Community Foundation of Western Mass has subsidized memberships for if you are eligible for any kind of government benefit, like supplemental nutrition assistance, then you can get a membership for $10. Thanks to the Community Foundation of Western Mass underwriting the additional cost. So we need help spreading the word about the Access Pass program. That's what it's called. And there's some cards right here that you can take with you that Shannon has. All you have to do is email accesspass@valleybike.org, and Shannon will respond and explain how you sign up. We have had low uptick. Community Foundation is funding at $36,000, and then Eversource contributed an additional $1,000. So we've got $37,000 to offset the cost of memberships for people who can't afford the full price. And we would really love your help in getting the word out. Another big thing about Valley Bike right now is that there's some issues of misuse of the bikes. They're very heavy, and so some people may not know how to use them. The baskets are big. They're specifically large so that you can put your groceries in them. You can fit 2 grocery bags in a basket. So they're designed for utilitarian purposes. However, they're not designed to carry children or dogs or grown-ups, and that's been happening, and unfortunately when that happens, they generally break off. When the basket breaks off, they have to go in to be repaired. That means there's not a bike available. There's 500 bikes when the system is fully running. So but if there's 50 broken or 100 broken, that means there's a lot less bikes available in the system. So we also need everybody's help to make sure that they're used correctly and spread the word about baskets are for groceries, not for children or dogs or grown-ups. That's about all I have to say. Anything you want to add?
That's why I had her speak. She talks very fast.
Yeah, Liz.
So how can we help you increase the number of bikes in Springfield? What can what can we do to help that problem?
You mean the number of the 500 bikes that our share of them here in Springfield?
Yeah.
Just, if you joined Valley Bike, if you have a membership, and you're trying to get a bike and you can't find one, calling the customer service number would be great to say, hey, I'm at a station and there's no bikes, I need bikes here in Springfield. Or if you're at your desk or at home and you're thinking you want to use Valley Bike, and so you call up the app on your smartphone and you look and there's no bikes, call customer service. I guess that would be the main thing to do. Let me know if you've ever tried, let Shannon know.
Yeah, and I also want to say right now, with the kids out of school just happening, honestly, we are bringing back probably 10 bikes a weekend. And if we have to repair those 10 bikes, we can't get them back on the street right away. So it's not that we're taking those 10 bikes from Springfield or Holyoke or Northampton or UMass. I mean, I'm not blaming Springfield. I'm saying that it's a systemic problem, and parents need to not be giving their credit cards to kids to use the bikes if they're not paying attention to them. And we need to talk to community groups about the proper use of these bikes, and that we have these access passes. And there are lots of adults who could benefit from the program. But say we get 5 bikes from Springfield, 5 from Holyoke, 2 from UMass, 20 from Northampton. We can't get those back into the system immediately. It's not financially feasible for us to have enough backup parts to get those bikes back out. So I think it's really important to value what the communities did bringing bike sharing for the residents, and make sure that people know that it is owned by the cities, and they did that for the community. And once it starts getting that respect from law enforcement, from parents, we'll definitely have a lot more bikes on the street because it'll be easier to maintain. And we'll start being able to see the real balance of where the bikes are going. I did give somebody a free pass last year. She was one of my, I call them my ambassadors. We didn't have the access pass running yet, but she did qualify. She stopped taking Uber to work every day. She was taking Uber to work every day. She didn't have a car, and she worked just a little too far. I gave her that pass, and she started riding to work every day that she could. I mean, she saved an enormous amount of money and lost quite a bit of weight. And so this year I called her up and I said, do you want the access pass? So we got that set up.
Yeah, if you guys have any suggestions on how we can outreach for access passes, yell it out right now, or see me or Shannon afterwards, where we can.
Could it be bundled with like mailers that go out, like excise tax mailers or other transportation-oriented mailers that go to houses?
You mean ask the city to do that?
Yeah.
That's a good idea, we'll do that. Good suggestion.
School
Yes,
system.
absolutely.
Food pantries?
At food pantries, go to the food pantries, yeah. Todd.
Or the farmer's market that takes SNAP up and down.
Okay.
the valley.
And Patrick, you were gonna
And
say
that's
something.
back to double, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was your question?
You got a docket every 30 minutes, right?
No, 45 minutes
45
for an $80 membership, but if you do the founding memberships for $90, they're still available, then you get a whole hour.
So what happens after that hour?
And the,
And then you'd have to check it in and check out another one after an hour. Otherwise, you have to pay $15 a minute or some ridiculous amount.
15 cents a minute.
Sorry, that's why she's here. Just get the founding membership. It's worth it.
Was that because I swear?
No, it's just,
Oh.
it was a reaction.
That's not really a
But that-
big swear.
15 cents a minute.
I want to let you know that Wegan agreed also, even though we're taking the money from Community Foundation to supplement the access passes, Wegan also kicked in some and made them hour-long rides. So they
So
they have
anybody has
unlimited
access
hour
passes.
rides for the access passes.
And the other thing is it's down to 16. 16-year-olds and up can ride it. It's not 18, so encourage young
So
people.
you might want to also go to DTA on Cottage Street.
Good idea.
So there's lots of places to go, but I'm only one person covering 5 communities.
Well, I know, but
So
if you just have somebody go, they Obama phone people, for example. They have someone that just stands outside in front of there and says, do you need a phone? Do you need a phone? And they get them signed up and register right there. And I don't know if you have any budget to have someone do that kind of thing,
Right.
but at the DTA office,
Good idea.
there's a lot of people who need help.
Yolanda, you had your hand up, did you wanna say something?
I thought it was 16.
Yes, what I just
Slow
said,
down.
16.
Is it okay?
It went to 16, last year it was 18. Charlie?
One of the problems, I think, if you're poor, you may get the bicycle and get to the doctor's office.
Yes.
But there's no place to check it off near the doctor's, put it near the doctor's office. And the doctor's office is an hour, and then when you get back, it's probably 2+ hours after you left.
So,
That's true.
it is
And that's
true.
why some of us
And we're
may
trying to-
hesitate.
Right.
We're
But
trying
there
to
are
expand
stations
as
at
much as we
Mercy
can.
and at Bay State now, and by the clinics at Bay State.
So,
at our major healthcare facilities in Springfield, there are now docking stations.
3300 Main, 34?
Yeah?
Yeah, there's
Yes.
two
I
in
didn't see
Bay
them.
State, there's one in
Just-
Mercy,
just went in.
and then the rest
Yeah.
of them
Okay.
are downtown.
Yes.
Either way,
Who had a comment over here?
if you
Yeah.
would normally go to the doctor.
Go ahead, Claire.
I was just wondering about,
Maybe
like there's some bike
from
share
a bike
models or like
station.
scooter models where you don't need to dock it. It's like Uber does it.
Yeah, we
or
could
like
have
the
done
Lime
dockless,
bikes.
but we chose to do a
Yeah.
dock station, so that's what we did in the Pioneer Valley.
Why? Just wondering.
We went with dockless because we were
So you were
not
docking.
confident, docked. We were not confident that the dockless stations were gonna last, and it's turned out that's been true. Like Worcester chose OFA and they're gone, OFA. Hartford, however, just went, the capital region in Hartford just took Lime, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay.
So we're definitely keeping track of that. And some of the municipalities have been approached by companies that do scooters, and so that could be a thing too, but that's not happened yet.
So you're saying you have the flexibility to maybe do dockless in the future?
Yes, always, absolutely.
Great.
Just not through me.
It would seem helpful. It
Sorry,
would seem
Shannon.
helpful
Micromobility, it's all good.
Yeah, never.
for you guys to put out recommended destinations or how. Like the idea of you don't take this bike to the doctor appointment, you take it to the closest station, and then you have to get, it's like, that's what you're just telling Charlie.
Yeah.
Take it to the
Yeah, we're
closest
trying to tell him
dock,
that, yeah.
take it to the closest docking station, and then you have to catch an Uber or something to get you to
And
the.
apparently that docking station that we're talking about for me, just
Yeah,
arrived in
The
there.
thing about
Now
that
works.
bike is it
Now
has
they
a
have
lock.
them.
So if you're a founding member or you're an Access Pass member, you have it for an hour. So you can take it to where you're going, lock it just separately as it's standing there outside the building, go in, do your business, come back out, unlock it, and then take it to a station. So you can run an errand for an hour if possible. And then
But
if
not
you have
longer.
to incur, it's only 15 cents a minute. You can add up your extra minutes and have to pay a couple bucks.
So it's like for what? 460 half hour, is that it?
Yeah.
So if you want a bike for
Still cheaper than an Uber.
yeah, it's still a lot cheaper.
Do you need to supply your own lock?
No, it comes with it, that's what I'm saying. Doug?
If you want to be really creative, you would bike to the closest docking station, dock it, undock it, and then restart
And then
your
you
1 hour
start your
clock.
minute hour.
There you go.
Yep. Smart.
And that's how people are riding from Springfield to Northampton. They're riding to Holyoke, exchanging bikes, and then doing, Catherine said she did it, I know a couple of other people
I did
have
it,
done
and
that.
again, it's electric. They're all 100% electric pedal assist, so you have to pedal the whole time, but it's like an exercise bike. It's a very minimal effort, and you're going along 15 miles an hour. Up Mount Tom, down Mount Tom, wherever you want to go. It's amazing. Yeah.
This is kind of a change of questions, but how are you in terms of the electric bike conversation? Because I know you said that Springfield is going to try to ban electric bikes, which would not necessarily make sense for you.
No, it's
And-
not.
Well, okay, but that
We're
could be my
getting
question.
clarified.
I mean, obviously, all these 6 municipalities, Springfield is the leader on Valley Bike. We're making sure that electric bikes are legal. We're very much outspoken for the hearing last night about trying to ban electric bikes on trails. We're saying, no, we really need this. This is important to be able to use the off-road system. It's transportation as well as recreation. Yeah, in the back.
Why do we want to ban electric bikes?
Why we don't want to?
So why do they, whomever they is?
No, it's an antiquated ordinance.
I'm
that-
assuming it has to do with fear of people going too fast and knocking over bicyclists and people who are walking their children and then electric motor coming by.
The electric motor stuff goes back to, I'll call it dirt bikes. And this whole mix-up of motorized, any motorized bikes being the dirt bikes.
Right.
And
It's
now,
really about speed.
communities are just having to,
Yeah, it's about speed.
Shannon, yes.
Go way faster
Yeah.
than even the
and these are new technologies that are different.
Our electric assist bikes are governed on the rail trails. So the electric assist only assists up to 12 miles an hour. That can be done in any GPS zone we want.
Cool.
Right.
Dylan keeps looking at his watch, so all right, we're done.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say the electric bikes get grouped in with the other like A to Bs and things like that.
No, and that's what, the ordinance in Springfield is getting these separated.
Yeah.
So that pedal assists are not the same as dirt bikes.
All right, welcome to the lightning round part of the summit. Patrick, I wonder if I could ask you to come on up.
I sure hope they plow out in the winter.
Yeah.
Do you have yours, or do I have that? I can give it to you if you don't have it already. I have Judy's from yesterday.
Yeah, it's just Judy's, it's the same thing.
Okay.
So we're going to use a slightly modified thing. When it says Salem, just think Hampton County.
Cool. Okay, so
Salem means peace.
We're rounding out. I know it's been a long day. I imagine your brains are turning into a little bit of mush. So
Got more coffee. Keep those brains going.
more cold brew, and if you're feeling like your brain is gazpacho, but if you're not, we still have more gazpacho. So try to dig in.
And the best thing is we are saving
So
the
we
best
have
for
Patrick
last.
here, which is, I guess Judy doesn't even have a name on here. So it's perfect. Yeah, I'll let you take it from here, and then I'm gonna jump in just to follow up some of what MassBike does. But the biggest thing that we can kind of get going on the ground a lot is bike education. We are starting practically from zero in a lot of communities, but as you've been hearing throughout the day, that Springfield actually is trying to institutionalize their biking and walking education, which, if that is true, that could be a model, hopefully, for some of the other gateway cities out there. So keep up the good work.
Yeah, so a lot of this early part of this presentation we've exhausted today, so I'm going to go fast through some slides and slow through other slides. But Safe Routes to School, can I just get a show of hands who's aware of Safe Routes to School? I know some. Oh, excellent.
It's probably the easier.
It's more be positive.
So much for
So
that,
for
Brian.
those who aren't aware of Safe Routes to School, it's a program run through MassDOT, and we are tasked with helping students get to school in environmentally friendly and healthy ways. There's a fancier way of saying it, but if you want to put it in layperson's terms, that's how I would describe it. So we serve the entire Commonwealth. I am the Western Massachusetts Outreach Coordinator. Vivian's here. Vivian handles Boston and part of the South Shore.
Yeah.
Boston, part of the South Shore. There's also Omar, who some of you may have worked with. Omar handles most of Hampton County, but I am the Springfield person. I also handle all points west of Southwick. So we're very familiar with serving this part of the Commonwealth. There's some numbers on the board of our reach, but really we serve a lot of people. If you can name an elementary school in your community, I have either tried to work with them or they are currently working with us. So this would normally say Western Massachusetts, but this is Judy's presentation, and she does Salem. And so as far as meeting local needs, the Safe Routes program, while it has its improving student health, it's really aimed at meeting all these needs. So getting physical activity for students, whether it's students walking to school, walking at school, walking after school. As we've talked about today, active transportation is a great way to shed some weight or just build it into your life. You know, people talk about the Play 60 movement. A walk to school or a walk at school is a great way to meet that. Also, as it relates to traffic congestion, the more people walk to school, the less cars are arriving at school. And I know earlier, I have not forgotten about your question, Alex, and I will talk about how to address the American dream with it. But it also works with attendance and tardiness. Students who walk to school, we tend to see a rise in attendance and tardiness. It's harder to skip out in class, or if you can't make it because you can't get a ride. If you're able to walk, that's an option. And then we also just handle some general communication and marketing materials, just about bike safety, about pedestrian safety, those kind of things. I think we have a slide coming that's going to talk about the E's. Yeah, 6 E's. We've all talked about them today. We do it all too. I know earlier we mentioned, as you see the bottom E of equity, it's been talked about how equity shouldn't be its own silo. We really try to refer to the 6 E's as the 5 E's under the 6th umbrella E, which would be equity. So with the first 5 principles there, equity is factored into each one of those principles, whether it's having material or our surveys we do with parents, we have it in something like 9 different languages. We really want to make sure we're factoring equity in throughout of our program. So starting with education, we've talked a little bit about what's happening in Springfield. Pedestrian education is a big one for us. I know today we are more bike focused, but Vivian and I go to classes regularly. We work with second graders to teach them the basics of walking on the street. We do everything from learning about parking lot safety, which I think is often an under-taught part when it comes to students, because whether you're walking to school or at some point you're going to a grocery store parking lot. And one of the things I really like about the parking lot safety component of pedestrian safety is a lot of students at second grade don't know what a blinker is. So just teaching them like what a blinker means or what white lights on the back of a car mean versus red lights, it's something that we all just kind of assume, and it's those kind of lessons that we try and teach the students. We also have a very big bike safety program. We do bike safety seminars, or not seminars because kids don't know what those are, but the point is, like, we do a bike safety class where we'll teach the basics about bike maintenance, tire inflation, wearing bright clothing, all that stuff. And then MassBike often does the more fun part of bike safety, which is a bike rodeo, which I don't know if you want to shoot, or if you were planning on talking about that later.
I'll jump in afterwards, yeah.
Okay, great. So, to come. We also do stuff at the elementary and middle school level. We are not tasked with working with high schools, but in certain communities, especially when you go out west, if there's a high school that's part of a middle school, sometimes there's some carryover, but if you were to read our scope, we are scoped with working with elementary and middle school students. So at the middle school level, we have actual academic lessons that involve walking. We have an Appalachian Trail lesson plan that kind of weaves some social studies and some math into just how to walk. So we try and find some creative ways to weave our program into existing materials. Teachers are already overburdened as it is with everything they're expected to. So part of our program tries to find ways to make it a seamless transition into an existing system. And then we do webinars, forums. For encouragement, we have some fun flagship days. So whether it's International Walk and Roll to School Day, we will have giveaways, we give out safety materials, all those kind of things. The hope is that while there might be a community where some students are walking to school, a flagship day might be a chance where a parent who's on the fence about having a kid walk to school can try it. And because it's a special day, there's a bit more safety infrastructure in place, there's a bit more of a fun element. We also just hope that the kid gets jealous they couldn't walk to school, and then maybe they walk to school next time. It's about human behavior. But it's really just a chance for us to get people more involved and find ways to make walking to school more fun than it already is. Enforcement, we have an awesome crossing guard video that we worked on last year. We worked with crossing guards. We don't do specific trainings right now, but the crossing guard video is a great resource for any community. If you watch, I think around the 7-minute mark, I'm someone who illegally parked in a crosswalk. So there are some fun crossing guard videos. There's some fun things in there. I won't bother playing it, but it's on if you go to the Mass.YouTube page, it's there. If you go to the Safe Route website, we work with school resource officers. We'll work at school traffic plans and try and review those a bit. Let's skip that. For evaluation, we do parent surveys. So communities that want to just understand what it's like at commuting to your school, we will work with communities where we do a quick parent survey where we can tell any given school, of your 300 students, you're having 171 walk to school, 25 are biking. I try and have all my schools do that on a yearly basis, just because the survey takes about 3 minutes to fill out, and the school, even if they do nothing with it, at least they have the data that they could use at a future point in time. In a perfect world, the school is taking this data and really looking at ways to grow their walking population. I know in the case of Springfield, with most students 80% in, the survey helps schools assess how many people are taking advantage of that opportunity. Similar, we'll do arrival dismissal reports. I love arrival. I'm studying to be a planner, so like this is what I really love to do, where I'll actually go to a school, or Vivian will go to a school, and we'll sit there for like 4 hours on like 2 days in a row and record everything that takes place at a school, whether it's cars idling in a bus lane, whether it's cars dropping off at one exit or cars dropping off at another. We all know that cars don't always obey the rules, and that even pedestrians don't always obey the rules, but to actually have a document that empirically outlines what happens, it's very helpful for schools. And we can give some recommendations that schools can use to improve the safety and air quality around the area. We also do walk audits too, where we'll go into neighborhoods and assess the walkability of a neighborhood as it relates to going to school. Because we're Safe Routes to School, we're tasked with the school component. But if there's a neighborhood with a school in it and they want to understand what it's like there, we'll do that. That's the sample of the survey. This is one of those maps we'll make for schools where we'll show we call it a walk shed. It's kind of like a watershed, if you know what that is, from environmental stuff, where we'll just show the distribution of students as it relates to that specific school. This is the equity umbrella I was talking about earlier, and one of the things I really want to emphasize is it's urban and rural communities. We serve the entire Commonwealth, and so that's whether it's someone who lives in Dorchester or someone who lives in Hancock, Massachusetts. We really have a team that's been constructed to make sure the entire Commonwealth is attempting to be safer as it relates to traveling to school. So engineering, we do a bunch of infrastructure stuff. We mentioned earlier how we're working with some of the schools in Springfield to, as they're building new schools, we can get in early and say, hey, let's do drop off now so you don't need me to come do an arrival dismissal 3 months from now. And then we'll also do some of the other things where we'll identify safety enhancements. We have infrastructure funding. I think we had something like 60 schools applied for infrastructure projects this past year. I want to say we awarded something like 14, plus or minus. And once again, distributed across the Commonwealth. One of my partners in North Adams won an infrastructure project, so it's not by any means just centric to 495 in.
Agawam and Long Meadow received them in this area.
Yeah, exactly.
And Northampton.
So we also have another thing called Signs and Lines, which some people in the room have been asking me about. It's coming soon, which is a smaller infrastructure-like project.
That's what they indicated Springfield, because that's all we applied for was signs and lines. And so they said, go for the next program because that's what that's going to be about.
So that hasn't
Start
been...
getting like the 20 miles or less signs or something like bike,
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
where
Yeah,
where
I
there's
haven't
little
seen...
signs.
I haven't
Springfield
seen...
applied for 6 schools, but it was all signs and lines.
Okay.
And that's why we didn't get the big infrastructure grants, because they said, you're more appropriate for the next grant.
Yeah, so I haven't seen the actual scope of the next grant, but when the time comes, we'll definitely encourage our communities out here to apply for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll talk about municipal governance versus school governance. We can show schools little things like, as far as, I use the idling sign example. If a school just puts an actual no idling sign on their property, suddenly you can enforce no idling, and there's tickets and such, so it's like that. So we'll help schools try and find those ways to improve both the health and the physical activity component. Yeah, so this really doesn't apply to you, but we have plenty of people throughout the Commonwealth. I know I really love, well, I love working with cities. I really enjoy, especially because I'm in Western Mass, handling the rural areas. And it's pretty cool. Like, we have this tiny little school in Western Mass in Hancock. They probably have like 45 elementary and middle school students. What their coordinator does there is he has his children walk in the field during lunchtime. Like, they really have like a field. Like, I'm talking tall grass and everything. He just has them do laps outside in the snowstorm and stuff. We gave him an award this year because he really went above and beyond. But that's one of the things we really try and emphasize with our schools is even if you're in a community, I know Springfield has many schools that are community schools, but if your school is on a major road or isn't necessarily a community school, there still are solutions that exist for you as it relates to student safety and health. So it might not be a walking school bus where we have people walk to school. It might be during gym class once a week you do laps around your school and track it as you walk across, we call it Walk Across America or Walk Across Massachusetts, but you can track your progress on a map. The point is, in an effort for our equity principle, we've crafted the program that, sure, some schools can do 1 billion different things, but there's no school in the Commonwealth that can't do anything with our programs. And so that's something we really want to emphasize, especially as it relates to bike stuff. I think the bike rodeos, students bike in almost every community. Even if it's just biking on the street, you can learn some things about that. So yeah, those are some fun pictures of what we do. And yeah, for more information, don't contact Rachel. But yeah, that's the Safe Routes program. I don't know if you wanted to talk, and then they can ask questions, or...
Yeah, well, on to ask questions, we'll pull up one more slide. But,
yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. Cool. Any questions for Patrick while I'm vamping?
Patrick, can you comment on the history of Springfield's adoption of the Safe Routes to School program? Or can anybody comment on
Yeah, I
that?
can talk a little bit about that. I know last year, every year we do this thing called the National Course, where we select one school in the Commonwealth and really do a deep dive on it. It's basically a walk on it on steroids, where we'll have a bunch of different community leaders come in. And so Springfield's been affiliated with Safe Routes for a long time, but I think the national course at Springfield, we did that at a Harena school.
School last year, yeah.
Yeah, it really, at least internal, we've talked about how that seemed to really have accelerated some of the principles Springfield's adopt, like adding pedestrian safety into their school curriculum is huge. Like that's probably one of the biggest things we can achieve as an outreach coordinator, because we now have like safety codified in a school system.
Well, in 3 years, we've gone from like 10 schools to 26 schools.
Yeah, why were there only 10 schools 3 years ago? I mean, I deal with a ton of teenagers who haven't gotten the program.
Part of it's a thing of, part of it's just, it could just be something as simple as there happened to be a new principal, so we go out, Vivian and I, to have schools join in. We can't work with a school until a school tells us they want to work with us. And we might be able to suggest like, hey, this is a great program, you should sign up. But until someone at the school signs up, we can't work with them.
And
which is fine, because I'd rather have a school want to work with me than force
Well,
something
and
on
we
school.
have a new, relatively recently, we have a new assistant superintendent who has been pushing it to the principals and getting, from the top, you now, in Springfield, now have Lydia Martinez pushing, telling principals and explaining this program to principals and helping with the outreach and getting more schools
So,
involved.
yeah, what I would say is, I can't speak to previous administrations, but what I would say is the current climate in Springfield, it's very receptive to improving student health via transportation. So I think as far as the uptick goes, we have someone who really believes in the value of our program.
And we've got some real advocates at all levels.
Yeah, we also have some great people across every town in Springfield.
And then when you guys say, like, who's not here, I think, when you're talking about schools, I think even working with maybe Bob, the bike guy, Robert Charlin, like, has been giving bikes away. He has every Tuesday, starting at 5 o'clock, off of, I'm not sure the name of the street, off of
Taylor.
Taylor. So he's there, and if you guys can just go look at that building, Pedal for You, it is, if you guys haven't taken a chance to go in there, go there and check out all the work that he's doing.
Pedal for You?
Pedal for You, yeah. And so he gives away bikes, hundreds of bikes to schools all across from here to Connecticut with officers, police officers, state troopers, everything, all that. So he does that, and they give bike training and safety and all that other stuff. And it's all free.
It's awesome. Yeah, we're also free as well, forgot to mention that part.
Great, thank you, Patrick. Thanks for all the work you're doing. Actually, it's super impressive. And
part of our team, so you can thank yourself technically.
Honestly, no, and the differentiation between the rural and the urban. One of the biggest concerns we get is, especially we're in Springfield, we're in Salem, we're in Worcester, we're very urban centric on these summits. But of course, the Commonwealth has a lot of smaller rural communities which have zero infrastructure, zero chance for a quote network plan.